Hey, it's Callan from Authentic Lifestyle Design, and today I want to talk to you about how to get through difficult times in your life. At the moment, especially, so many of us are going through so many things with this current pandemic and the number of things that are going on at the moment that overall have left us in a place where so many people are feeling isolated, alone, nihilistic. They're doubting so many different things inside themselves of their future. The future looking unclear. People not even knowing what's going to happen. People just taking a guess. So, collectively, how do we get through these hard times? How do we see the light of this at the end of the tunnel, right? And it's so important that you can see light at the end of the tunnel. Because, yes, the pandemic is serious, and yes, what we're doing, locking down and basically stopping the spread of this virus is important, because if we didn't do it, there'd be so much death, so many sick people, right? But at the same time, the ripples that that's having on the economy, on humanity as a whole, and on people's mental health has to be considered and has to be looked at as a part of this whole plan. And what is happening currently is there is a steep decline in so many people's mental health due to this lockdown. And I've noticed that from many people in my life, and I've noticed that as a trend currently, which makes sense. I mean, you can't see anybody whenever you go out. You have to wear a mask, you have to wear one of these things, essentially, to stop to stop the spread of the virus. So we're currently living in an age, in a time, when physical human connection, face-to-face connection, is essentially rarely happening, okay? Now, my own situation, I've been living alone in a town I didn't grow up in for nearly a month now. And how do I get through that? How am I okay with living alone, with this solitude, naturally being quite an extroverted person? And partially, it's from spiritual development, it's from meditation and going inward, being at peace with myself. But the other side of it is having external people, and even though I can't see them, going through the internet to contact all these people and to keep in touch with all these people in my life I care about and people that care about me. And that's a key, If you're struggling, especially due to this pandemic, and no one could blame you, it's gone to, it's quite shocking. So if you are struggling, it's important that you actually talk to people. Now, that can be your family, that can be your friends, that can be people that are close to you, that know you, that understand you. And that can even be socially, not necessarily that you need mental health support, but it could just be a social thing. But on top of that, if you have depression or underlying mental health problems due to the current situation, it might be worth your while actually contacting a therapist or contacting somebody who can actually walk you through it, that can help you get through it. Because essentially we're in a tunnel, at least in New South Wales where I am, we're all locked down. No one can see anyone. I work as a teacher. There's no kids at school, only the kids of essential workers. It's all stripped right back. So, what do you do? And yeah, of course that's going to have ripple effects. That's going to have mental health effects. Like, can you imagine people who are locked down in a house where there's things going on like domestic violence or abuse or things, and people have no escape? Or can you imagine, I don't know, living alone? Some people can, some people can't. Can you imagine having something like borderline personality disorder or some other kind of mental illness, living by yourself, and then all of a sudden your social circle's not there because you can't leave your house? It's some troubling stuff. And it's good to check in on people. In times like this, it's important to check in on people, just to make sure they're doing okay, just to make sure that they don't need anything. Because there's light at the end of the tunnel, we all know that, right? But at the same time, when it gets dark, because it can get dark for people, you might not see that light at the end of the tunnel, and it might seem hopeless. You can fall into nihilism, you can fall into thinking everything's gone downhill, and that unfortunately can result in many people harming themselves or even taking their own lives. And we want to reduce that. We want everyone to come out of this pandemic happy and healthy. We want everyone to come out of this pandemic having grown, coming out better people than they were before they went in. More fulfilled, more at peace. Because although it's a time where people aren't really talking to each other, it is a good time for stillness. It's a good time to get to know yourself. And I know, living alone, or this whole year of being out in the country, which is a much smaller space with a lot less happening than what I'm used to, I have learned so much about myself in so many ways just because of the amount of solitude I've had and the amount of time I've simply spent with myself alone. So it's good to talk to people, If you're struggling in any way, talk to people, be that just socially or professionally. It's important you can speak up about things. Otherwise, that'll lead to suffering. And always remember that there's light at the end of the tunnel, that this thing, as crazy as it is, will end. And also, don't let people push you around, right? If you live somewhere with a system that wants to suppress you for longer than this pandemic, if they're using it to gain power or other selfish incentives, that's not on, right? And if you live in a democratic country like Australia, you have every right to challenge that, right? And so it should be. Everyone should be given a voice, regardless of what your opinion is, regardless of if I agree with you or not. It's important that you have a voice. It's important that you can say what you think. That's what allows growth. It allows a bunch of humans getting together, having a nice deep chat to figure out what they should do. And there's light at the end of the tunnel. So, another thing you can do is simply, if you're lucky enough to be in nature, you can do what I'm doing right now and coming out in nature, having a look around. And if not, try and, again, journal gratitude. Especially when things are dark, especially when your mental health is down, journaling gratitude can have an amazing power. Just waking up every morning, I'm grateful for the birds, I'm grateful for the sun, I'm grateful for someone I live with, or my family, or my dog. Anything, 3 things a day that you're grateful for, right? Another thing I think that's really important if your mental health's downhill, it's important anyway, but it's especially important if your mental health is dropping, is diet and exercise and sun. Now, sunlight is so important. If you live somewhere where you don't have sunlight, like if you live in the UK and it's winter and it's sunny, barely ever, because it's always overcast, literally supplement some vitamin D and you'll notice your mental health go up. Vitamin D is very important. So sunlight's important. Exercise is important because exercise is your body's way of dealing with stress. If you get a bunch of cortisol, which is your primary stress hormone, stuck in your body, exercising actually releases that. Exercising actually gets that cortisol and fuels it. It allows it to go through your body. Really special. And that can have tremendous benefits on your mental health. And then diet has an amazing impact too. If you eat a bunch of really poor food, it's going to make you feel worse than if you eat good food. Okay? There's the whole saying that nothing tastes as good as being healthy feels. So diet, exercise, and sun, they're 3 things I am very careful to put into my life, and something I recommend everybody needs in their life, especially because of the current situations. Because it can get pretty crazy, Living by yourself during something like this can be deeply challenging. And if you're mentally stable, cool. I'd like to think I'm reasonably mentally stable, but you still notice it. But if you're living alone and you have underlying mental health problems, that can get really hard. That could definitely get challenging. It'd be challenging enough without those, so I can only imagine what some people are going through. Or if you don't feel safe in your house due to domestic violence or other reasons, I can't imagine how difficult that would be. That'd have to be a real challenge. So, primarily, look after yourself. You know, if you're suffering and you need help, talk to people that can potentially help you. If you feel like there's no way out, or if you even feel like ending it, talk to people, because there's always going to be light at the end of the tunnel. You know, there's always a way out. There's always a way to, or even there's even always a way to find peace in the moment, just to sit and to be peaceful, to be in the present. That's why meditation is so powerful, because you can switch off whatever's going on in your life and simply come back to the breath and be still, and to enjoy that silence, to enjoy that peace. And it doesn't matter what's going on externally in your life, you can always come back and ground in that. That's why meditation is such a useful skill. So we can maybe add that. So if you're feeling depressed, let's go. There's 5 things. I wasn't planning that there was 5 things, but I'm going to say there's 5 things. The first one, and probably the most important one, is to talk to people. If you're going through something hard, please reach out to people. Be that socially for support, just to let people know what's happening. But also it could be for mental health or a mental health professional, right? It's so important that you can let people know if you're suffering in that way. And it's also important that you're a pillar, that you're there for somebody else if they need you. Because we're social creatures. We're here to look after each other. Second one is exercise. And again, exercise is that way of channeling cortisol through your body. Really important stuff, right? Bit of exercise every day. The third one is diet. Eat good food. Don't eat too much junk food. Keep yourself heavy. Not too many sugars, not too many salts, not too many trans fats, right? Overall, try and eat well. Use the 80-20. 80% good food, 20% whatever you like. That'll keep you that tiny bit happier. Okay? Next one is sunlight. And again, sunlight's really important. And if you can't get sun every day, and you should be getting about half an hour of sun every day, use vitamin D supplements, because you need to keep your vitamin D levels up. And the sun's the best way to do that, but if not, take some supplements. And the last one I want to talk about is meditation. Because meditation, like I said, it's a superpower. You just sit down and fully embrace whatever is at the moment. Be that you're doing that through gratitude, or you're just following the breath, or you're contemplating, being at peace. Because with meditation, it doesn't matter what's going on externally. It doesn't matter how chaotic it gets. Meditation is being able to come back to the breath and being able to ground. Being able to be at peace regardless of what's going on around you, and to be still, to keep your mind still. Because when your mind's going 500 miles an hour in 70 different directions, that's when you're going to get depressed. That's when you're going to get overwhelmed. So simply come back to the basics. Come back to those fundamentals. Just start breathing, follow your breath. Sit somewhere peaceful. Try and do this every day. You could even add multiple of these, like you could meditate in the sun, and you could actually feel how your body changes when it's exposed to the sun, which is a really beautiful meditation. Yeah, meditating in the sun is amazing. So here's the 5 things again. I'm not sure if it's the same order, but the 5 things you've got are diet, sun, exercise, meditation, and talking to people, keeping in contact with people. Those 5 things should allow you to keep a relatively level head. And remember, as dark as things get, as crazy as your life is right now, and I can imagine so many people have some crazy stuff going on. There's some crazy isolation. There's probably so many people living alone like I am. And there's probably plenty of people with mental health problems, or even people that don't have mental health problems, that are really struggling with that. And we're struggling with that for a reason. Human beings aren't meant to live in isolation like that. You know, we're not meant to live in an apartment or a house by ourselves. We're social creatures. We're engineered to hang around with other human beings. Even one of my friends is like the most introverted introvert, right? And even he, and he doesn't live alone, he lives with his family, even he is missing that external communication, that external connection with people, because we're built like that. That's what makes human beings so amazing, is that we can socialize and work together to build all of these amazing things. That's our superpower. So overall, that's my message for today. Pretty serious, but I think very impactful if you can implement those 5 things. Apart from that, if you enjoy the video, give it a like. leave me a comment. I'd love to know what situation you guys are in and how you're handling it. That would be a really interesting conversation to have. Share this video with anyone you think it'll help. And overall, wish you all the best. There's always light at the end of any tunnel, no matter however dark things get. And enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.